Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me and welcome to my little mini workshop all about starting your own adventure story. I hope that after this it will leave you with your imaginations all fired up and ready to go, and hopefully spark some great ideas for your stories. What I'm going to do is think about how you might use places and settings to actually start your story going. So instead of coming up with characters first or anything else, actually using different places to start your story. And all you're going to need is a pen or pencil and a piece of paper, but that's all. So while you're finding those, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. My name's Katharine Orton, I live in Bristol, and I'm the author of a book that came out last year called Never Tell, and one that is coming out this year in November, which is called Glass Heart. Never Tell is this one, just over here, and I'll show you because it's got a nice shiny lettering on it. There you go. That one is all about Lena, who escaped from a Soviet prison camp with the aim of trekking all the way across icy cold Siberia to find her grandmother, who lives in Moscow, which is thousands of miles away. And she and her best friend Bogdan escape together, and they soon stumble into a lot more than they bargained for when a sorceress who calls herself the Manhunter starts to track them and pursue them for their journey with her terrifying shadow wolves. And this over here, I thought I would just show you very quickly because you don't often get to see it. It's what's called a proof copy of my next book that's coming out called Glass Heart. And this is like the version that you get just before the finished version. So this is the one with all the spelling mistakes and things in it, which hopefully won't be there when it comes out properly. And the cover will be slightly different too. It'll look a little bit more like that, if you can see it. And Glass Heart is a similar kind of fantasy adventure, but it's about Nona and her uncle who, just after the Second World War, they go around together repairing stained glass windows in places that have been bombed. And this is what takes them to this weird place in the middle of Dartmoor, where Nona soon discovers that her uncle has been bewitched. And she has to figure out who's done this to him, and what's going on, and later on how she's going to save them from this terrible dark force that's coming. So to talk to you a little bit more about the kind of adventure stories that I grew up reading and that I used to really love, and that have inspired my writing. My mum and dad used to read me books like Jules Verne, for example, who wrote things like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Journey to the Centre of the Earth, where obviously there's this big epic, usually adventure involved. And I used to love books as well, like Chrysalids by John Wyndham, which, not to give too much away, but it's about the heroes have to leave their village secretly without anybody knowing, and travel to what's known in the book as the Badlands, where they're going to meet up with these people, or aim to meet up with these people that have been in contact with one of them just through the power of her mind. And of course there's always the classic adventures which you might know, like The Hobbit, which I'm reading to my son at the moment, where again there's this big adventure from place to place. They start off in the cosy old Shire with the hobbits, and then travel all the way across Middle Earth to the Lonely Mountain to face a dragon. So with all this in mind, I'm thinking that we can take two places and use them to create our stories. So if you've got your pen and paper ready, task 1, unsurprisingly, is going to be to think of a place. Now, this needs to be a happy place. It needs to be somewhere that you, or your characters if you've got them already, would really like to be. It's maybe it's comforting to them, maybe it's somewhere where family lives, or where there's something that they really need or want. It could be a real place, it could be a different country, it could be Spain, or it could be less specific, it might be a village in the mountains somewhere. Or it could even be on another planet. It could be on Saturn, for example. And it doesn't have to be real. It could be completely made up. It could be a different world, so a fairy world, or it could be a castle somewhere in the sky, or a labyrinth deep underground that you've just made up. It's entirely up to you. But what I will do is give you a little bit of time to think about it. And if you're struggling, I do have these pots behind me, which, now I used these, or I was going to use them, for school visits and things like that, way before lockdown happened and any of that kind of stuff. So I have very little idea what's actually in these pots, although I know that I wrote down lots and lots of different places on bits of paper that you could just pick out at random to choose your place. So what I'm going to do is choose a couple from one pot and a couple from another later on. And please feel free, if you're struggling, feel free to use these as well along with me. So for this task, I'll pick a couple from this pot, which I'm pretty sure is place 1. Let's give it a go. And if they're not very good ones, I might cheat and make something else up. But we'll see, we'll see. Okay, right, so this one I've got written down, a spirit world. A spirit world, so that leaves it quite open to your imagination about where exactly that might be and what that might be like. So that could be quite a good one. Alright, I picked another one already. I haven't been looking at it, honest. Oh, this one is home. Okay, so again, that's a little vague. I suppose it could be your home, or it could be what you think of as home. It's quite open to interpretation. So have a think about that one. I might choose one more just for luck. Ooh, okay. This one is, if you can read it, a desert oasis. A desert oasis, so that would be somewhere in the middle of the desert with kind of trees and water and shelter and lots of green, I suppose. Okay, so that's some ideas that you're more than welcome to use as well. Right, so task 2, again, very similar. I would like you to think of a place, but this one, it needs to be an unhappy place. It needs to be somewhere that you wouldn't really want to be. For whatever reason, and that's totally up to you. So it could be, I actually have picked a few of these already, just to see what some of them were like, because I was curious. And one of the ones I picked from there was a sinking ship. And I thought maybe this place could be a sinking ship in the middle of the Atlantic. I thought that would be a good idea. Or you could have have a swamp filled with alligators, or you could be in a desert with no water and no shelter, maybe. So give this kind of unhappy place a little bit of thought. And again, if you're struggling, I will pick a few of these as well. So if you're ready, picked one. I look like I'm looking, but honestly I can't see anything because they're all folded up. I'm not cheating, honest. Oh, okay. This one is a criminal's hideout. Wow, okay. A criminal's hideout. Picked another. Oh, okay. This one is a space station. I wonder what the reason would be that you wouldn't really want to be there. Maybe it's kind of abandoned, maybe there's a big disaster coming or something. I don't know, that could be an interesting one to think about. And I'll pick a third one just because I've done 3 of the other as well. So this one, now this is very strange. The past. I suppose you could call the past a place. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So, feel free to use any of those. For the first place, we've got home, a spirit world, a desert oasis. And for the second place, we've got a criminal's hideout, which I really like. Love that one. A space station, maybe an abandoned space station. And the past. Wow, okay. So, this is what we're going to do with our 2 places. We are going to start our story in place 2, the unhappy place. And your characters need to get to place 1, which is the happy one. So, this will help us to have a think about how on earth you're going to get your characters from one place all the way to the other. Will they have access to transport, or will they have to do it all on foot? Will they have help? Will there be friends they can call on to help them? Will they have magic help maybe? All I will say is don't make it too easy for yourselves. In fact, if you can, make it really, really hard, because the harder it is, the more fun and the more thrilling your adventure stories will be. And if you have a little think about your places, obviously it will help you to figure out their journey and therefore the story. But it can also help you in other ways as well, because you could think, okay, what kind of a person, what kind of a character would be on a space station, for example? Or what kind of person would be in a criminal's hideout? Would they be a criminal, or would they be an innocent person who's just somehow got mixed up with these criminals? So it can help you think about your characters, and it can help you think about your epic journey as well. So for example, if I'm going to choose some of the ones that we picked together, we could go from home to the past and figure out how that might work. Or we could go from, wow, a space station to a desert oasis. That would be an interesting journey as well. Or a criminal's hideout to a spirit world, or any combination of any of those. And also, why don't you have a think about what might happen if you switch the stories around as well? What happens if you start in place 1 instead of place 2 and go to the other? So there are lots of different ways of doing this, and there are also lots of different ways of choosing your places as well. You could write them down on a list like I've done here and pick your own and do this as many times as you like, or you could spin a globe even and put your finger on a different place there. So I hope you've really enjoyed doing this with me, and I hope this is going to spark lots of fantastic stories, which I would love to hear, and please feel free to share them with me. And also please feel free to leave comments in the comment section under this video, because I'd love to hear all about your places, all about your challenges that you're giving yourself. And if you're having any problems or struggling, I'll also try and respond as well. So all that's really left for me to do is to say thank you very much for having me, and I hope that you've really enjoyed this fun little mini workshop with me. Thanks for watching, and happy writing. Bye bye.